Hello and welcome to my month 8 update video. I really feel like I've reached a point where I'm able to kind of just coast in my studies. I'm not doing anything crazy or anything new, just kind of focusing on doing my flashcards. Every day I'm trying to do 20 or 40 new cards, or 20 to 40, it's a big range, but yeah, and every day I understand a little bit more Vietnamese because of it. So yeah, looking at the statistics, I studied for about 26 out of 28 days. I studied for about 56 hours total, which averages out to exactly 2 hours a day. So not too bad. I spent 35 hours on flashcards, 12 on pronunciation, 8 on videos, and 1 hour practicing numbers. So regarding my current ability, in the past, I was able to understand the gist of small portions of videos. Now I'm getting to the point where I can understand the gist of much longer portions or even entire videos. As usual, I want to be clear that like the details still escape me. So that means I'm very far from truly understanding the language, but I am able to watch videos, and during the entire video, I have kind of at least a fuzzy understanding of what's going on in that video. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with that progress. I think I've come a long way. So as for the rest of my abilities, like speaking, I'm still unable to construct sentences of my own. I haven't worked on it at all. And I think my pronunciation, despite having practiced it, still has a long way to go. And I'll talk about that later. Also reading, I still haven't practiced any reading, so I can't really read that well. But I do truly feel like I am making progress. That's a good thing. That feeling, though, I have a tendency to let that feeling get me in a little bit of trouble. When I see progress, like I'm seeing progress now, I find that I start to get a little impatient, and I'll start looking at the goal. I'll start looking at the finish line, and I'll stop looking at like the process. I'll start pushing myself harder and harder to kind of sprint towards that finish line. But the reality is it's still a marathon. I'm still running that marathon. And realistically, the finish line is still many months down the road, 6, 8, who knows how many months down the road. So I have to really consciously stop and remind myself to shift my focus back from the finish line to the actual day-to-day process to maintain, to like nurture an enjoyable and sustainable process. Okay, now on to discussing what I did this month. Videos, didn't do anything special. Just watched a few, watched less than in previous months, but yeah, not too much on videos. Flashcards. I am really enjoying doing the subs to SRS flashcards. I learned in the neighborhood of 400 new cards this month, bringing me to around 2,900 cards, something like that. I've also started thinking about the flashcards in a slightly different way. I've started thinking about them as more of like a tool to do something else. So what I really think that I'm doing is going through videos, going through stories, line by line, and trying to understand the story. The flashcards are just the tool that I'm using to go through these videos and stories. Other people might just, look at the transcript and go through it line by line and write stuff down. But yeah, I'm starting to think of the subs to SRS as just my tool for that process of understanding entire stories, entire videos, understanding Vietnamese in context. Anyway, the cards are getting easier and easier by the day, though many are still too hard for me. I found that it's really important that I only have 1 or 2 new words per card. Even like two-syllable words, it's less than ideal, and I do even have trouble with cards like that. But the more context I have, the easier these cards are. And so balancing these two of having, only 1 new thing per card, but including as much context as I can, it's difficult. And I'm still trying to optimize that process. The simplest solution is just get better at Vietnamese. Less words that I don't know. And then I can put more context on there, but I'm working on that. The process of creating these cards that have the right balance for me can be extremely time consuming. It can take me hours for a single 15-minute video or even a dense 5-minute story. I've been trying to mitigate that time loss by learning the material as I'm parsing it, so that my flashcards kind of become more of like a review than, the first encounter where I then have to learn the card. And it's been doing okay, but yeah, it's still very time consuming. When I do get flashcards broken down to the right size, I can learn 30 to 40 a day. So that's 30 to 40 new words, new grammar structures. Sometimes they are reviews, but there's always something on the card that I'm learning, a different way that someone pronounces a word or something like that. I've actually changed Anki's settings so that I see these cards less often in the future when compared to default settings. So instead of seeing it, today, tomorrow, 2 days from now, 5 days from now, I've expanded that actually, which is opposite of what I had done previously. So I'll see it like 1 day, maybe 3 days, and 9 days after that. And so that's how I'm able to learn a much larger, or expose myself to a much larger volume of cards. And I think that approach will yield greater results more quickly. Technically, I am forgetting a larger volume of cards by, exposing myself to so many, but I think the volume that I retain is also larger and more interesting. And so that's it for flashcards. Gonna keep doing that. Like I said, I've been enjoying it. I think I'm learning a lot from it. Number practice. While doing those flashcards, I noticed that I had a lot of trouble with numbers over 10. So I made a little simple little program that drills me on the numbers. It uses text to speech, speaks the number. I type the number. Pretty simple. I can test it, or have it test me on like 0 to 10, 0 to 100, or 0 to 1,000. I think I've used it maybe like 8 days total at this point, but I do find it helpful. I think it's going to take a lot longer, but yeah, that's definitely a weak point that I had found. But yeah, like I said, I think it's helping. Pronunciation. I am still practicing pronunciation. I slowed down a little bit towards the end of this month. I enjoy the pronunciation, and I think it will prove very helpful in improving my accent. But ultimately, even after practicing for a month and a half, I just don't feel like I'm ready to speak yet. And I think the main reason behind this is that I'm just totally unfamiliar with how to intonate a tonal language. So in order to overcome that, I have 2 things that I plan to do. First is simply to improve my comprehension and my innate feel for Vietnamese. The second thing is, over the next couple months, the next few months, I plan to leisurely kind of work on pronouncing sentences. So to start, I'll start with like 3 to 4 word sentences and work my way up to 5, 6, 7, whatever. Currently, I have a lot of trouble maintaining my awareness of the pronunciation of sentences over 4 words. So I think there is a long way to go. I don't want to rush. I have no reason to rush and ingrain bad habits. So I think I'm going to put off trying to learn to read, trying to learn to speak for quite some time. I'm also considering learning to speak before I learn to read, but it's just a thought in my mind at this point. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. One last thing. When I was doing this pronunciation practice, I found it easier to mimic male voices rather than female voices. Or it may not have been male voices necessarily, but maybe deeper voices compared to higher ones. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but basically I found some people easier to imitate than others. Okay. So now to the part where I demonstrate my ability. So I have a different book, Diaries of a Wimpy Kid. I'm going to read a few sentences. Again, I have literally never looked at this book before. But yeah, I also have just excuses, just a few quick excuses. I haven't practiced pronunciation in a while. So whatever. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. Okay. Thứ hai hẳn là mẹ phải tự hào lắm khi năm ngoái đã được hiện được nhiệm vụ bất khả thi là ép tôi viết cuốn, hồi ký, ngộ, ngỡ, ngàn, ấy. Có lẽ đó là lý do mẹ lại tặng cho tôi một quyển sổ nữa. You know, on some of these, I think some of these were broken tone, but the font, I don't know if you guys can see the font, but the font is a little bit, I don't know, kid-like or whatever. So I think it's kind of hard to see like the like, I don't know if you guys can see that, but anyway, it's kind of hard to see the broken tone. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, again, that's my reading ability, at least. It's hard to really show my actual ability. But anyway, that's it. That's all I got for this month. So anyway, going forward, I plan to keep my focus on doing the subs to SRS, learning to understand entire videos, learning to understand full stories, using subs to SRS as the tool. Again, I'm trying to stay as consistent as possible. It's tough, but yeah, working on that, trying to also increase my daily study time. Before I was doing closer to 3 hours every day. This month I did 2 hours a day. I'd like to kind of move it back up towards 3. And yeah, that's it for this month. So thanks for listening, and see you guys next month. Bye-bye.